I don't know what you heard about me, but a bitch can get $1 out of me. No Cadillac, no perm you can't see. That I'm a mother PIMP.
That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. Bullshit. You didn't convince me. Let me see your real war face.
This is what you could end up looking like if you eat some of the raw, frozen shrimp being sent to the United States by other countries.
Silly black people. They always think they can accomplish everything by just sitting around. What?
Is your stomach calling? Need a processed meal to destroy your insides? Look no further than Goy Slop, the place where food controls you. Our secret Israeli-designed brown goo will kill you. We're not kidding. We're here to poison Goyim.
I love Goyslop. My wife and her lover love Goyslop. We're really proud of the work we've been doing here at Goyslop. I feel so full of energy whenever I take a bite. I love Israel.
So come on down to Goy Slop. Clog your arteries and serve the mega corporations. Call 1-800-GOY-SLOP now and become the Goy you were always meant to be.
Without islands would be a mistake.
Jenny, Estin, MJ, Goonies! We need Goonies!
This is Goonie. Five.
Big egghead like a busted drone. Tiny legs swinging off the drone. Trench grenade in the kid size zone. Top real tall on his...
Not quite my tempo. Here we go. 5, 6, 7. Hold up, 6, 7.
Hey, voice like he swallowed a frog last week. Croaking his throat when he tries to speak. Stand on the curb, still looking petite. Talk about one never left destroyed.
Human being, he's a chud. What's a chud to avoid? What's a void to a goy? What's a goy to a Netanyahu who don't believe in anything?
Egghead like a busted drone. Big egghead. Hey, 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 yeah. Tiny legs swinging off the throne. Trench grenade in the kid size zone. Talk real tall on his toy flip phone. Looks like he swallowed a frog last week. Croaking his throat when he tries to speak. Been on the curve, still looking petite. Talk about won't ever leave the straight. Mom says we got that at home. He repeats it like a prayer monotone. Coupons in his wallet like a badge of honor. Stealing stories like he earned that armor. Yeah! Is he tough? Is he hurt? Is he tired of the play? Is he mad at the world or just scared he's gay? All that foam on his mouth, all that cosplay rage. I need every soft truth in a toy war game.
Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're having a wonderful night tonight. We have much to discuss. Happy to be here with you, fine gentlemen, after spending the better part of the day on the range and having to get some things done in the last minute, hence the attire. My apologies, of course, but we have much to discuss. It's only April, and so much is happening So much is happening at every minute of every day that we no longer know what is real, is not real. Uh, as Jaden Smith would say, perhaps realize, realize, real lies. You know what I'm saying? We have a new Kalashnikov concern LMGs. The United States military is using shoulder fired 20 millimeter launchers for anti drone, which is a novel solution, perhaps not the most efficient. We have Caracal winning a good contract for a real rifle. Baltimore, or Maryland, I should say, completely banning the Glock. Great. And then we have based people getting charged with war crimes while they allow foreigners to murder their own people. And speaking of our own people being murdered, turns out Irina Zarutska's murderer is too retarded to stand trial, which should mean by default that he is not fit to live among us either. And then we have, if that wasn't rage baity enough, which if there was one stream that was going to get me taken down from YouTube, probably going to be this one. So, I mean, if you want to check out on Rumble, maybe future streams will be over there. But we have a selected amount of rage bait for you guys on the back half as well. I hope your week is going well. I hope you guys are putting in the work to earn the weekend or to earn a future for your people in some way, shape, or form. But before we get to the monstrosity that is the news and shenanigans, Richard, how's your day going?
It's going good. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Glad to see Vintage in chat.
Vintage, literally just watched your new video as I was sitting down getting all of my tabs arranged. So, you know, good to see you back again with your quarterly video. We appreciate the presence. Yeah, he's barely doing anything. What's his problem, man? It's like he has a real life. He's working. Like, geez, couldn't be me. Wouldn't be me, honestly. Would not be me. Yeah, he's very, very much so alive. But in honor of the year that it has been so far, it's important to remember that it's only April. I mean, January was wild. We got Maduro, we got Iran, you know, the whole Olympics, everything going on. It's only the first part of the year, okay? We've got so much to go. 2026 is probably going to be the year of the decade, if I had to guess. There might be a few notable exceptions here or there, but 2026 is the year where, you know, the people that put it all on nothing ever happens, they're losing big in 2026, okay? They're losing quite big this year. Now, speaking of the current happenings, of course, earlier today it was announced that there was a ceasefire deal, or late yesterday there was a ceasefire deal between US and Iran. Not really Israel, which is quite funny because part of Iran's conditions for their ceasefire was that Israel would stop attacking Lebanon. And since Israel has no intention of a ceasefire, there were a few people literally shaking and crying on Fox News yesterday about the ceasefire and us not literally tactically nuking Iran out of existence, Mark Levin. And so the Israel throwing a monkey wrench into the system to stop once again the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, which is quite humorous that now our biggest adversary in the region is, well, has kind of always been, Israel, causing a lot of problems for us here in the West and also our allies in the East who heavily depend on that oil. So as stated yesterday, they did not agree to a ceasefire with Israel. It was supposed to be between the U.S. and Iran. However, part of Iran's side of the negotiations is that the fighting has to stop in Lebanon. Israel's like, no, we actually want more land there, and so we're going to remove a bunch of people. So Iran is launching still missiles right after the ceasefire into Israel, and Israel is, this is part of the IDF strikes in Lebanon. So they are still bombing large swaths of Lebanon against the Hezbollah, ostensibly in the apartment complexes, and just, you know, removing. It's funny that they called the attack of civilian infrastructure a war crime if America does it, but it's like the status quo, the standard modus operandi of the IDF to, you know, violate international law and commit war crimes on the daily if you're the IDF. So this is currently today in Lebanon. So not really much of a ceasefire, which of course violates Iran's side of the deal. So while the strait was open for a couple hours this morning, I believe 2 tankers made it through. 2 fuel tankers made it through before Iran closed the strait once again. So
are those 2 tankers going to Israel?
Probably not. No, I don't think that's how the Strait of Hormuz works. Iran says it's halting traffic in the Strait of Hormuz after Israel attacked Lebanon. Testing fragile ceasefire deal. Follow for live updates. That's from CNN. It's being reported in multiple places. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, says that the ball is in the U.S. court and the world is watching as Israel continues to carry out extensive strikes against targets in Lebanon, despite Pakistan, the mediator of last night's ceasefire, stating that Lebanon is covered under the agreement, with Iran stating that the United States must choose ceasefire or continued war via Israel. And once again, this is a huge L for the U.S. government, being dragged further into continued escalation by the Israeli government and the Israeli military, because make no mistake, it is not the U.S. that is the driving force in the Middle East right now. We are not in the driver's seat, because we can have negotiations with Iran that we agree to, that Iran agrees to. But isn't there a third person that you forgot to ask if they consent to a ceasefire? And that third person is Israel. And they say, no, we're still going to be carpet bombing civilians in Lebanon. So, or, Hezbollah. Yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of the update, is that it was open for a couple minutes and now it's closed. So this is kind of the last 12 hours. This is a pretty good summation of the events so that you have a start, middle, and finish, and kind of where we're sitting right now. So the Hormuz situation just hit a new level. The last 12 hours changed everything. So Iran did open the Strait of Hormuz, right? Which was great for U.S. oil, great for oil all around the world. The price hit a low of $70, like $77 a barrel, which puts it at pre-war pricing, right? Now, it was only there for minutes, basically, but oil worldwide hit a back to pre-war levels for a brief moment in time. And 2 oil tankers passed through safely. Then Israel launched 100 strikes on Lebanon hours later, the biggest attack since the war began, 112 killed in 1 strike. Then Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. So thank you, Israel, once again, our greatest ally in the region, or so they say. All tanker traffic is stopped. Iran is mulling withdrawal from the ceasefire entirely. Again, they're saying, like, listen, if you don't control your dog, Israel, or Israel, if you can't get, it's funny because it's like Israel is the driving factor. We don't have, apparently, any say over what they do, and any ceasefire, any deal that we make with Iran, Israel's not going to be happy with, because, of course, Israel literally wants us to nuke them off the planet so that they can be the largest, most powerful player in the region, and then eventually they'll just take whatever land that they want. So, of course, they're going to, if that happens, if the ceasefire does completely fall apart in the first 24 hours of the 2-week ceasefire, then Iran is just going to start hitting all of the targets in the region as they were before. So oil had plunged this morning 19% on ceasefire news, the biggest drop since 2020. And now I checked it and it's back up to about $100 a barrel, which is about $20 per barrel up from where it was at the beginning of the war. Iran is now preparing to walk away from the ceasefire, and there is again 150 vessels stranded and not allowed to move, again, because the strait is closed, because Iran, even if they don't have a huge military presence over there right now, they can simply close the strait because they say the strait is closed, and because the tankers are worth a lot of money. They can say that they laid mines. I think that they still have some ships operational. I think that they still have some miniature submarines still operational. I heard that from somewhere. So it's possible that their navy is not as knocked out as the American media might lead you to believe, which obviously makes it really dangerous for tankers to move through. I think Iran also said that they were thinking about a deal where they would charge $1 per barrel for ships trying to get through as kind of like a toll, which doesn't add that much to the total cost, but is a huge revenue generator. So, for instance, the original number of $2 million per oil tanker that they had put out would raise something like $1.2 billion a month for Iran, which at the end of the year would be triple what we send to Israel every year. So literally through this war at the behest of Israel, getting in there at the behest of Israel, we would end up triple funding Iran and count that as a win for some reason. You know, it's like, yeah, we've taken out their Air Force, but their Air Force was never a consideration for us. We've taken out a lot of their ships, but again, not really a threat to us. It's a threat to the Strait of Hormuz. We can't really hit their actual manufacturing plants that are, again, hardened underground. Their stockpile is certainly lower because they've sent a lot of them at our allies in the region, right? At a lot of the Gulf states. We've certainly taken out a lot of their launching infrastructure, their radar infrastructure. We've killed a lot of their high-end officials, but they've just been replaced and are still operating nominally. You know, it's not great for them, I'm sure. I'm sure that they have suffered massive casualties. It's a complete one-sided destruction in terms of like numbers and the value loss from one side to the other. But again, they're still operating. They're still in power. There's no regime change. There's no end in sight. And it doesn't seem like without a real invasion that such a thing would even be possible. Now, again, rounding it out with the oil prices today, it's back up to about $100 a gallon, or $100, sorry, a barrel, which is roughly where it's been at for the last couple weeks, somewhere between 100 and 115. So it's you know, not very exciting. Bruh, that Hormuzzi is opening. I made sure. I'm not going to open my Hormuzzi, which is... What have we done to the English language? What have you done to my boy? Now, interestingly, of course, over Easter weekend, we had a great rescue operation to retrieve a Colonel Wizzo. And there was some issues there with leaking of private documents or confidential information. And this isn't necessarily tied one-to-one together, but they are looking for the person who did leak that classified information and made the rescue operation quite a bit more dangerous for everyone involved. Risked, you know, everybody, the 150 planes that went in, the hundreds of soldiers, not to mention the life of the Wizzo himself by leaking the information that he was still in Iran, by saying that we only got one of the pilots out. Now, this is another leaker who has been hit with the don't do that hammer. And yes, it is a female entrusted with information, not being able to shut her mouth. Wow, that's crazy, dog. Wild, dude. So Courtney Williams, a U.S. Army veteran and former U.S. government civilian employee working with the U.S. Army's Delta Force under U.S. Special Operations Command, was arrested and charged with one count of communicating and transmitting information related to the national defense classified as secret, no foreign dissemination, to journalist Seth Harp from 2022 to 2025. The information Williams provided was used by Harp in an article and a subsequent book. And this is the femoid in question here that leaked classified documents and data to a reporter. And again, they're currently looking for the one that leaked it to a Israeli reporter that we only recovered one of the stranded pilots, or the Wizzo in this case.
For 8 years, security clearance while she worked with Delta Force there with the Army in Fort Bragg. She's the whistleblower that called out the maltreatment that she was experiencing while working there. But the feds believe she was giving away a lot more than just workplace secrets that could have put soldiers' lives at risk. For 8 years, Courtney Williams worked in the Army's Delta Force at Fort Bragg, behind-the-scenes work to help maintain cover for one of the military's most secretive groups. But now she's being accused of leaking top-secret information to a journalist that could have put soldiers' lives at risk. Williams was quoted in Seth Harp's book, The Fort Bragg Cartel.
My book is critical of these institutions because I think that waging war in secrecy for 20 years gives rise to a host of cultural problems that spill over into communities like Fayetteville.
WRAL interviewed Harp about the book in October. Williams was quoted extensively when referring to a toxic work environment within Delta Force.
Imagine you're in the elite premier fighting establishment, fighting unit in the world, and your complaint is that there's a toxic work environment. I feel like you shouldn't be in that environment at all. Like if you're the type of person to complain that, you know, hyper masculine guys on a cacophony of drugs and other substances whose entire mission and purpose in life is to, you know, seek and destroy, and you're complaining that they are toxic, I feel like you just shouldn't be there. Like this isn't an environment for you, and it's not an environment for me either, right? I'm not that type of guy. I'm not built for that type of line of work. So I shouldn't be there telling them what they can and can't do or how they should and should not behave, right? This would be like walking into a, you know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, or, you know, what any sort of gym, and being like, oh, hey, yeah, you guys are being a little mean. Like, the camaraderie here, the environment here, we gotta make this, you know, HR compliant. Okay. We got to change this to fit my personal needs. It's like, no, I don't think so. Actually, I think you need to leave. Now, that being said, of course, I'm sure there are excesses and issues within the special forces community when it comes to, you know, drugs and substances and abuse and things like that. Sure. But the words toxic environment, that's incorrect. That's inappropriate. Okay. Like real abuse or illegal activities, you know, maybe we can take that more serious. But when you say things like, well, it was a really toxic environment as a female to work with deltas, and by work with deltas, I mean like be passed around. Like, I'm not sure what you were actually doing there, but like, listen, like probably just shouldn't be there in the first place. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
Force, where she claims she was sexually harassed and discriminated against while.
But here's the thing. Like, we use these people, and I mean that. Like, we just tune them up to maximum aggression, maximum just maximum perfection at their job, okay? We really shouldn't be putting foids around them. Like, that's a really bad idea, okay? It's just a recipe for disaster. And yeah, but again, it's like, I'm misogynistic, so of course I would like relegate foids to somewhere else. Like, that's a terrible idea. I'm keeping you so far away from my operators that you can't cause these sort of problems. Because yeah, it's like these guys are not normal, okay? These guys shouldn't be around you, okay? They're very special, and so, you know, we'll let them eat their crayons and do whatever they do, but probably shouldn't let the foids around them, okay?
Also sharing information about work she would do. A criminal complaint filed today indicates she had concerns about how Harp's reporting could affect her, telling her mother, I might actually get arrested, and also telling Harp, I would definitely have been concerned with the amount of classified information being disclosed. She continued, saying in part, I'm taking deep breaths, but have a feeling this is going to be more of a nightmare for my children than not. Harp declined an interview, but sent me a statement calling this a vindictive act of retaliation and saying in part, former Delta Force operators disclose national defense information on podcasts and YouTube shows every day, but the government is going after Courtney for the sole reason that she exposed sexual harassment and gender discrimination in the unit.
Again, gender discrimination and Delta, like, what are you talking about?
He fits the profile too.
Well, yeah, the physiognomy checks out there. Like the white knight for the Foyd after she gets heckin' harassed by, you know, literal space marines. Like, if true, I don't really care. It's like, right. I actually think that gender discrimination is based. So, you know, obviously they shouldn't harass you or abuse you in some way, but maybe I'm not super trusting about the type of women that throw themselves around hypermasculine men and then get upset that they act hypermasculine around them. Like, all right, Foy. But anyways, enjoy prison. Good luck with that. I wish you the best for sure. Now, again, they're still looking for the guy that leaked the Wizzo information. Not sure about that, but it was an Israeli journalist, which I did find quite funny. Now, what I don't find quite as funny, because I'm sure the Kalashnikov nerds out there will be having a good time, but we have some new pictures and images of the recently field-tested RPL 20, which is the 545x39. So you 545 nerds and you AK nerds are really breathing heavy right now, I'm sure, like that Foyd was around those Delta operators. Same vibe going on here. Kalashnikov Concern RPL 20 545 LMG. This is the latest LMG and is currently undergoing a small-scale field evaluation in Ukraine. So as far as Eastern firearms go, like, it's actually not terrible looking in its aesthetics. Obviously they make a bunch of modifications to make it belt fed, and it's got a what looks to be an actually usable forend. Whether it holds zero or not is quite a bit. That's always the trick with Kalashnikovs, right? But it's got like a modern Magpul PRS style stock where you got adjustable pull and comb. Actually, let me move the image a little bit so you guys can see that better. It's got pick, it's got the things that you want, and it's a neat little system. All right, so this is the Kalashnikov Concern is preparing for serial production. So as far as I'm aware, this is not fully adopted yet, and again is only in limited testing as of right now. So they're preparing for serial production of the RPL-20 light machine gun. Production of the product will begin this year. The Concern's press service reports. The Concern specialists have been developing technical processes for launching the machine gun into serial production, as well as providing everything necessary for its production. Weapons in the required quantities, specific dates for start of production, and the machine gun are not reported. As noted in the Concern, the machine gun has been modified, taking into account the requirements of the military, and has successfully passed tests in the SVO zone. So the RPL-20 was developed by order and technical specification by the Ministry of Defense in 545 as a means of fire support for military units to create long and dense shooting. Only belt-fed 545 39mm cartridge was chosen as the main one to increase the portable ammunition. The belt was also developed in the Concern. The cartridge box or 100 or 200 round boxes. So you get the long boy, which is obviously what this is, and then you have the shorter version that they were showing off here, which looks to be somewhere in the Arab Emirates somewhere. Maybe they're shopping it around, but you get some close-ups of it. So they got the short boy and the long boy. This looks to be 13 to 15 inches, somewhere in that range. And then the big full-length version looks to be 20 plus inches. Now, 545, like, it's fine. In theory, it should be a good round, but it's just slightly worse than 556 in most concerns. The only thing is that, of course, Eastern manufacturing, they've adopted 545, so they have a lot of economy behind it. But I do have to say, okay, it's actually a good looking firearm. I actually kind of like it. I think it looks quite neat. I would rock one. Now, are these ever going to come to the US? Certainly not, unless the I don't even know how that would work, because they'd have to import them through a different country or have another country in their area manufacture them and then also get them approved for ATF import. Be very difficult to do. Like, we can't even get an RPD in the country for the most part. So even though allegedly Zastava is close, and they've been close for a long time, just like Iran, they're 2 weeks away from importing an RPD. But it's a neat looking firearm. It's neat. Okay,
I think it looks good.
Yeah, it's a good looking firearm, and I mean, it's got a continuous top rail, which is like revolutionary for these guys. It's only taken them 20 years to catch up to the West in terms of a continuous top rail. Looks like a modern lunch pail. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It looks like it's a very Western looking AK derivative firearm. It's still got the front sight block. It's still got some of the lines, in the forend and whatnot. It's still AK-like, but it's like a Western modernized version, which again is what they've been trying to do in the last like 12 iterations of the AK, is to try and make it more modern, and doing an okay job at it. Okay job, not great. Okay. Yeah, and it's a hinge lower. So in theory, the top rail should hold zero, right? And the forend should hold zero, right? Without having to do something crazy or insane to get that to actually be the case. AK adjacent. If Azerbaijan adopts it, possible U.S. imports, doubtful. Yeah, it'd be so difficult to get it imported. Again, like, Zastava's been trying for the last 2 SHOT shows, last 3 SHOT shows that I've been there. They've shown off an RPD that they've been trying to import. And when I talked to Rakic, Is that his name? I forgot his name, but the big gentleman that runs Ostava USA, featured on TFB TV, that guy, talking to him again, he's confident that it's close, but been close for a while. RPK, whatever it is, dude. Rinko, that's it. Ranko. It's Ranko. Yes. RPK, whatever it happens to be, okay? You Russia booze, like you're like weeaboos, okay? It's like I don't know you, I'm not associated with you, I'm just here to poke fun. Okay, it's fine. Yes, it's Ranko.
I like that they all spelled it different.
Yeah, Renko. Well, it's pronounced like you roll the R, right? It's Ranko. PKM, whatever it is, dude. Everybody's fighting with each other in the chat, which is fantastic. Okay, that's what you come to a focus trip stream for. Not for accurate information, not for like details. No, you come here to fight, which is perfect. All right. Well, let's move on to, okay, so that's like the East, trying to modernize their LMG, which is like, okay, that's cool, it's fine, similar things to that we've had in the West for 20 years, but whatever. However, the Western solutions to modern problems is like, what if we made the most expensive possible drone deterrent? And what I mean by that is, what if we made like a $5,000 launcher to launch $100 shells to take down a $40 drone?
That seems on par.
Stonks, yes, but that's like always the East versus West. Like the Eastern solution is like carry a shotgun, and here's $4 worth of birdshot, or whatever it might be. The West is like, well, listen, if we create a 20 millimeter portable launcher and hyper specialized munitions, we can effectively counter drones 11% better than the $140 sawed-off shotgun alternative. And it only cost us 61 times the money. And yes, we are almost there. We are almost to full bolter technology, okay? We're going to literally, it's only going to be deltas and surgically modified humans that are going to be able to fire the next generation weapons, because we're just going to eventually be putting artillery in their hands. That's just how it's going to go. You're going to have to be wearing special armor to shoot the thing, just jacked up on all the drugs to be able to wield our future firearms. That's the way it's going to go. And they'll all be blessed by Tech Priest, by the way. U.S. Army wants a new grenade launcher and ammunition to be able to destroy drones. Now, we've talked about this system in the past. This is the MTL-30 from FN, which is what looks like a mini Barrett, like a mini BMG, but this is just a 20 millimeter grenade launcher. After 2 decades of searching for a new grenade launcher, the U.S. Army appears to be zeroing in on a choice. The Army is seeking prototypes for the PGS, which will replace the M203 and M320 grenade launchers. In a nod to modern battlefield conditions, PGS will incorporate drone killing tech in addition to offering troops the capability to engage targets behind a defilade, such as walls. The PGS will be man-portable target engagement system that enables the squad to organically incapacitate enemy personnel, targets in close quarters battle, and unmanned aerial assets with quick and precise fire. Because again, I believe these are 5 and 10 round magazines, and they are going to be semi-automatic. So it is going to be absolutely hilarious to actually shoot these things. And you can find videos online of these being shot with the different munitions that they have available currently. I can't show them on a YouTube live stream, but they do exist out there. All right. The solicitation calls for a prototype submission that includes 16 weapons, fire control systems, and around 25,000 rounds of ammunition, with a mix of counter defilade and counter drone, close quarter battle, and training rounds. So they are, FN for this solicitation is going to have to drop off 16 of these bad boys. Now, how many M203s and M320s do we have? Like, it's got to be like tens of thousands of them, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to look up how many M203s in inventory. Because I'm curious the number. 24,000 of them. So we currently have 24,000 M203s of the different variants. And this is supposed to replace that? Again, this seems like a very, very hyper expensive solution to replace not only the M203, but also the M320. All right, and so for this solicitation, they are also going to be dropping off 25,000 rounds of ammunition, which is like millions of dollars, right? At least somewhere between $100 and $400 a round, depending on the round, right? Surely. For like very specialized, and not to mention, not only are the rounds themselves very expensive on an individual level, but they're also going to be developing counter drone ammunition that does not exist right now. So the nice thing about that is that with a 20 mil shell, you have a lot of payload capacity, right? So like a shotgun is interesting because you have a good mix. You can use flechettes, you can use birdshot, you can use buckshot, you can mix and match. You can do a lot of cool things with the payload of a 12 gauge shotgun, right? Whereas like with a 5.56 or 308, you can do the bifurcated bullets where they come out separately in 2 pieces or stack them like 3 pieces, or have the little balls and you can get them different that way to increase your dispersion and your effective possibility of securing a hit on a moving target, a very small moving target like a drone. However, with a 20 millimeter shell, you have a lot more, not only capacity in terms of your payload, you have just a wide variety of just things that you can do with it. You know, you could use an explosive charge, you could use some sort of actual projectile, you can maybe have a time fuse, or you can do all sorts of different things when you have that sort of just capacity, right? All right, so the Army plans to award 2 other transaction agreements for the prototypes. The ultimate goal is to issue 2 grenade launchers per rifle squad. Okay. The hunt for the next generation grenade goes back to 2008 Small Arms Capabilities Based Assessment, which examined combat lessons from Afghanistan and Iraq wars. Among the findings was that the Army needed a grenade launcher that can hit targets out to 500 meters. The current 40 millimeter M203 and its successor, the M320, have an effective range of 350. And not only that, but this is a lot of firepower on tap, and this is a lot of, again, potential, because you can have a high explosive round, you can have a penetrating round, you can have an anti-aerial round, you can do a lot of different stuff with a system like this. And so having 2 of these in all of your fire teams does add a lot of flexibility to how you engage targets, and especially up to 500 yards or beyond. That's a pretty big operating window for the average soldier. All right. Warfighters lack the ability to achieve desired accuracy and incapacitating effects against personnel targets protected from hostile ground observation and flat projecting fire by an obstacle such as a wall or hill at ranges out to 500 meters, the small arms study noted. For a time, the solution appeared to be the 25mm XM25 Punisher, but that program was canceled in 2018 amid cost and performance concerns. Now, the XM25, iconic in many, many video games, right? I mean, Modern Warfare 3 had it. You had it in Battlefield, 3, 4 at least. It's in a lot of games. Very iconic, very cool. Never really got the thing to work, though, at least for the cost and the performance that they wanted out of it. Leaving troops to rely on older grenade launchers firing airburst rounds, as well as the Carl Gustaf 84mm recoilless rifle, which is obviously a totally different concept. An RFI for the Precision Grenadier system in 2020 listed a variety of desired capabilities. In particular, it sought a breaching capability capable of blasting solid wood doors 1.5 inches thick, windows, gates at 50 meters. It also asked for an armor-piercing round capable of hitting a lightly armored vehicle out to a minimum engagement distance of 500 meters day or night with an armor penetration of between 1 inches and 2 inches at 90 degrees rolled homogeneous armor. So, I mean, what would that be? That would be equivalent to like a striker, basically, right? Something along that lines. Not a tank defeater by any means, maybe in certain contexts, but
for APCs.
Well, yeah. So like our current military, like strikers or something like that, that equivalent of an enemy vehicle. It also asks for an armor-piercing round. Yep. In 2026, solicitation doesn't mention breaching or anti-armor capabilities, but it does call for hitting enemy combatants, their personal equipment, and thin-skinned targets in defended positions while limiting collateral damage. So really, as we've seen the Ukraine-Russia war progress, like I'm not sure how much direct fire they're doing against armor. Like, it's so much drone warfare against the armored targets. Like, after almost any major battle or troop movement, like they'll come in, they'll drop off the troops, and then all the vehicles will just leave, right? Because anytime the vehicles are there, they're very exposed, they're very easy targets, and they're just a magnet for drones, right? So I'm not sure how much of the anti-vehicle nature will come into a conflict like that for the GPS. However, anti-drones, or hitting people in fortified positions around cover, whatever it might be, that seems to be a more current application. Now, the funny thing is, though, as I'm saying all this, by the time this thing actually gets developed, accepted, fielded, like, the nature of modern combat 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now will have probably changed. Yeah. Well, and more expensive. Don't forget it's more expensive, because what does an M23 what does an M203 cost for us? So I don't know if that's accurate. That can't be real. It's saying it costs the US military $134. Is that real?
That would probably be accurate, not including the R&D.
Well, yeah, but at this point, 25,000 of them later. Well, like, even on the they're a complete kit's going for like 2K. No, they can be. So an M203 is like at max on the civilian side, like 2K. So the military is getting them for significantly cheaper. I would be shocked, I tell you, if this was less than $5,000. Well, I know it's a tube, but it's the military. I mean, come on, they're gonna charge you something for it. I don't know, what does a contract M203 cost? Because yeah, on the civilian side, they're about $2,000. Yeah, it's not pulling up exact numbers for the U.S. military, but again, civilian side about $2,000. I would imagine it's considerably less for the U.S. military. This is going to be insanely expensive, though, and there's 25,000 of them to replace. Oh, I can let this go for less than 8K, bud. I know what I got, son. Listen, if you see one of these being sold at your local gun show, you should just buy it, okay? Max out the credit card and buy it. What's a stolen prototype firearm for the U.S. military going for on the secondhand market? You should just buy it. You should buy it. Yes, when you buy 25,000 of them, you probably get a little bit of a discount. Probably.
Yeah. Big discount. I can't get over how much it looks like a Bear Creek Arsenal side charger.
Firearms, like, eventually we're just going to run out of shapes for firearms. This isn't Bethesda games, okay? Eventually, like, firearms do have to operate in a certain form and function, so eventually we just run out of shapes. It'd be cool, honestly, if we wanted to do this concept, but like make it a revolver cylinder, although we kind of have that already anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. I'm trying to think. But like make it look more revolverish, I guess. I don't know. With a longer barrel, because the other ones are really short. Or you could do like the, well, I guess technically the rocket launcher from Halo is a revolver. It has 2 cylinders. It's just a 2-cylinder revolver, that's all. Yeah.
But does it revolve?
Yeah, the cylinder on the rocket launcher in Halo revolves. Yes. The switch fires one and then switches. And again, this will be going up against $40 FPV drones. So, yeah, that is the Western solution, is hyper expensive, as usual. Now, last week we covered Caracal USA making, winning a contract for Belize, I want to say, which is like not a real country, not a real place. But it was really unfortunate because it wasn't for the cool firearm. It wasn't for the 816. It was for their DI cheap, poor version, if you will, the 814. However, all right, fate decided to rectify the situation and make it up to me personally by then awarding Caracal USA a contract for the 816, which is again the 3rd generation 416 from my perspective. Kind of the 4th generation if you count the first 2 generations of the 516. But it's in that vein of an HK 416 made by Caracal. It's like a desert 416, if you will. and made by Caracal, and they got another contract for the right rifle, this time in another backwater country called Bermuda. Which no, I can't point to it on a map. Do not worry. I am an American. I am very geographically challenged. But they actually won a contract for at least something that's a little bit cooler than a standard DI cheap. It's not even that cheap, but like a generic AR. So these are actually Caracal USA is based out of Nampa, Idaho, I want to say. So they're kind of in a based area. Of course, the Caracal, the overarching company, is based in the UAE, but Caracal USA, a leading US-based manufacturer of small arms for the law enforcement and defense markets announced today that it has secured a new supply contract with various government agencies in Bermuda for the Caracal 816A2 rifle platform. The award further reinforces Caracal USA's growing presence in the Caribbean, or the Caribbean. Do you say Caribbean or Caribbean?
Depends on what context usually, but Caribbean usually.
Okay. All right. Caribbean region, and highlights continued confidence in the company's advanced weapon systems among government and security organizations. So the Caracal 816, it has like it's a lightened version of the 416. It has kind of the adjustable piston system from the 516. However, it's even more sealed to protect it from sand ingress, because that's kind of the purpose of Caracal designing it for the UAE, right? And then on top of that, it has a out of battery, or over the breach, sorry. So it has a reinforcement behind the extractor, so that if there is a catastrophic malfunction, it actually detonates all of that forward. So it's a advanced safety feature in the barrel extension itself that's novel and unique. So you can shoot the thing underwater, you can shoot it with the barrel completely packed full of mud or cement or whatever else, and it will again send all of that debris forward, which is it's novel, it's neat, it's a cool safety feature. It's something that honestly probably should be installed on all barrel extensions, since it's not that much more complicated to machine or to add on. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't want that, because it just makes the whole system operate a little safer. So I would like to see that feature be brought to more AR-15s in general. All right, so just a little update. Then that was more for me personally, because I'm kind of offended that they went with the 814 over the 816, honestly. All right. Now, in unbased news from an unbased place, which kind of sucks, because I like the Northeast in concept, like New England, like that whole vibe I find cool. Okay. Like, I think it's a beautiful area of the country, and it's like one of the safest places in the country too. A lot of the places up there, because of their homogeny, you could say. However, they're just always really cringe.
Maryland is not one of those places.
Where's Maryland at? Maryland, Virginia?
No.
Again, I'm a geographically challenged.
It's near Virginia, but Maryland also has Baltimore.
Well, yeah, but cities attract these type of people.
It spills over a lot in Maryland.
All right.
But
well,
yeah,
anyways,
it is New England.
Then what are you talking? All right, I'm gonna look up Maryland demographics. See, I was right. My gosh, you're making me second guess myself. All right, Maryland demographics. Do. Let's see. I'm curious. Racial. Really, that's interesting. I would have thought Maryland would have been much. So, that's actually Maryland's actually kind of gross. Ew.
Yeah.
So I did not realize that, and even that far north, they go that far north, huh?
Yeah.
48% white, non-Hispanic, 30% African, and then it's 10% Hispanic, 6% Asian, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, 48%. That's rough. That's rough. Maryland isn't real, dude. I guess. Is it just Baltimore though, or is it?
No.
Is Maryland like one of those places where there's only one big city and like half the population lives there?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Let me see.
You got Baltimore and a few other surrounding cities, but that's about it. It's not like the rest of the New England area. It's not like West Virginia and the rest of the areas there.
Really? I mean, it's not that big. Baltimore only has 600K, so it's only 10% of the total population of the state. All right, Maryland is going down in my estimation, but guess what? They also have bad gun laws as well because Maryland lawmakers approve a bill banning the popular Glock handgun sales. Now, this came out today. All of the YNs out there not helping, I'm sure, with legislation. The bill banning machine gun convertible pistols, aka Glocks, could soon be headed to Governor Westmore's desk. The House of Delegates passed a sweeping ban Wednesday on the sale of pistols that can be easily converted into machine guns, which is basically all of them, advancing legislation that could take one of the nation's most popular handguns off the market in Maryland. Both chambers have now approved the bill, and it is expected to head to Governor Westmore soon. If signed into law, it would make Maryland the second state in the country to ban the sale of machine gun convertible pistols, a term for handguns that can be converted into automatic weapons with the tiny device known as a Glock switch. Now, maybe I can elucidate here or illuminate your minds as to the chief culprit of the switchology. Okay, this is O-Block Switchion here, telling us what are the best switches for the Glock, okay? And he's very, honestly, the argumentation here is so impressive that I'm shocked that he's not a national level debater. When you hear his argumentations and his reasoning behind his selection of different Glock switches, like, it'll probably change your life. So without any further, what's up?
He's so articulate too.
Very articulate. I mean, it's inspiring.
5 best Glock switches in 2025. First off, we got the G19. Y'all know the G19, that bitch spit crazy. On Folks Grade, that bitch come out. That bitch coming real fast. Niggas can't duck that fucking G19 with that switch on Folks Grade. This is a thorough Glock switch that you need to go with is the G19. I'm not gonna bap to you for them. Go ahead and do that. That's a good choice. That motherfucker spank ass and put real whippings on niggas on bro grade. Next off is a G17.
Man, stunning. That was crazy.
The G17 with switch. Ooh, that bitch coming fast. You want to put a big ass button on the back of that bitch on Folks Grade. That switch on the G17, you cannot go wrong with that bitch on Folks Grade. That bitch will put up a whole lot of pain on a nigga ass on Folks Grade. The ops won't even play with you crazy with that 9 on Folks. That bitch do the damage. You not gonna bap. Next off is a G23 switch on Folks Grade. Glock 23 switch go crazy on Folks Grade. That bitch put real belt on niggas on Folks Grade. It'll flip a nigga into a patty melt on Folks. You will put a nigga real down underground with that motherfucker G. That big full old gig.
Okay, a Glock 23 with a switch would be miserable to shoot. Absolutely miserable. That's the compact 40. That would not be fun to shoot. Thank you. On Ops Grave, dude. Yeah, Colin Noir is on hard times. He's now having to take money from AliExpress for the Switchology ads.
I just couldn't figure out why he kept talking about 4th grade, but then I realized that's his reading level.
On Foes Grade. Yeah.
Do the damage. You not gonna bap. Next off is a G23 switch on Folks Grade. Glock 23 switch go crazy on Folks Grade. That bitch put real belt on niggas on Folks Grade. It'll flip a nigga into a patty melt on Folks. You will put a nigga real.
Excuse me. Patty melt. What does that mean? Like in context?
I speak jive. That means that it's gonna cause him to slump and leak.
Okay. All right. That was actually really good translation there, Richard.
Down underground with that motherfucker G. That big full old gig. Boom. Shots bouncing out that 4-0. That bitch gonna get a nigga. Watch that nigga. He can't run. That nigga moving slow on Folks Grade. He gonna feel real life hollows coming out that bitch. That bitch was a real baker on Folks Grade. You want to go get that G23 switch on Folks. That's a good Glock switch to have on Folks. I'm not gonna bap to you. That shit cold, folks. Believe me. Next off is a G21 switch on Folks. G21, that's the 4.5 on Folks Grade. Big chunky shit on Folks.
A Glock 21? I don't know if I've ever seen a Glock 21 in person. It's for a special breed of human.
The 2 people who I've seen with Glock 21s was an old man who was retired police, and the other one was gentlemen like this.
Anyways, you guys understood his arguments there for the different switches, right? Like that all came through. You guys got that?
And to be clear, those were switches, right? Those were the different switches.
Something, man. A similar law in California, which has been dubbed a Glock ban, is now being challenged in court, and gun rights groups say they would challenge Maryland's law in court. The bill does not single out Glocks, but it would ban the sale of semi-automatic pistols that use a cruciform trigger bar, which is, again, quite a few. A component primarily used in Glock pistols and copycat weapons. The cruciform trigger bar is the mechanism that limits the gun to a single round of ammunition per trigger pull, and it can be disabled with a switch to make the gun fire multiple rounds with one pull of the trigger. Now, as it stands, what's a popular pistol, Richard, that hasn't had an FRT made for it?
Good question. Have they done one for the HK?
I said popular.
You got me there.
I don't think I have seen one for an HK, because like I've seen them for Canics, I've seen them for Smith and Wessons, I've seen them for P320s. Although it's hard to tell on a P320 if that's smart fire or FRT. P226. No, I've seen 2011s with FRTs. I have seen 2011s with FRTs. So I mean, in fact, the 1911 had an FRT full auto device designed for it like 100 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I think the 226, 229 series. I think that's the only thing.
Yeah, probably 226. But is the 226 really that popular, though? I mean, it's a cool gun. Like, I think that they're fine firearms from a design standpoint. But I don't know, like, average buyer going into a gun store is 90% of sales are probably polymer framed striker fired handguns. So, yeah. Beretta M9? No. They even have the 3-round burst coming out for that. So there's definitely an FRT out there for it, for sure. Yeah, exactly. It is 100 years old. Yes, the first FRT patent is a 1926 patent for the 1911. I thought it was 1934, but either way, it's nearly 100 years old for the first FRT device, and it was for a 1911. So again, the idea that 2011s have FRTs. What's up?
Do they have them for CZ75 yet?
That's a good question. Although I don't know if gay people are into FRTs. So, yeah. I don't know. I'll have to inquire somebody who owns the CZ75. Couldn't be me. Switches are already, I know, I love this part. Switches are already illegal under Maryland and federal law, but supporters of the legislation say that lawmakers should go further and require gun manufacturers to make their products harder to retrofit. Maryland's bill would ban future sales of pistols that can be converted into machine guns, but would not require current Glock owners to get rid of their guns or modify them. If you currently own one, you can keep it, which is what they always say before a law comes out a year later, 2 years later, where it's like, actually, you have to get rid of that now. Del Nicole Williams, and Prince George County Democrat and a sponsor of the bill, said during debate on the House floor, "No one is taking your gun away from you. After this, if Glock modifies this design, you can go purchase that newly designed gun." So this came out today, this article did. So is this for Glock 5, Gen 5, Gen V, and Gen 6? Like, they're just saying full stop, no, it uses a cruciform trigger bar, and therefore it cannot be sold in the state of Maryland.
I think it is a full stop on any of them.
I guess. The sale ban would not apply, of course, the sale ban would not apply to law enforcement officers, retired law enforcement, or members of the military, because they try and separate the two. Glock discontinued some of the handguns in models last year and replaced them with designs intended to prevent the use of switches, but the newer models still use a cruciform trigger bar and would be banned under Maryland legislation, said Mark Panak, president of the gun rights group Maryland Shall Issue. Panak said he fully intends to challenge the Maryland ban in court if it becomes a law, which it probably will. All the governor has to do is sign it. Banning Glocks and other handguns that use the same trigger mechanism could impact 30 to 40% of pistol sales at Hafer's Guns in Hagerstown, shop owner Tim Hafer said. That would be a significant decrease in sales. Well, that's the point, right? Because if they can limit your sales, then in an odd way, just by banning certain handguns and certain attachments, right, they can actually basically force you out of business, right, by just reducing your sales to a point where it's no longer profitable. And a lot of gun stores, it's simply no longer profitable. And it's even worse in places like California, where in most instances you have to have ammo shipped to your FFL, or you have to have barrels like shipped to your FFL. You have to have accessories shipped to your FFL. So if they just limit the amount of FFLs in state, they can effectively, reduce the average citizen's ability to acquire firearms.
That's how it worked in DC.
Due to several law enforcement agencies in Maryland supported the bill, including the Baltimore Police Department. If you just put criminals in jail and don't let them out, it actually reduces crime. Fun fact. Citing the use of machine gun convertible pistols in crime, the handgun used in the October 2023 mass shooting at Morgan State University had been modified with a Glock switch, which allowed the shooter to fire rounds more quickly. 5 people were injured in that shooting, none of them the intended target. So I do like when you look into most quote unquote mass shootings. I think what's the technical definition? Is it 3 or more people injured?
Correct.
And to be clear, it's not shot, it's injured. So it could be 2 people shot and somebody rolled their ankle running away, and that counts as a mass shooting.
My favorite instance of a mass shooting was the one where it was the NFAC people who were protesting with guns, and one of them indeed into the ground, and the shrapnel hit 3 people.
Well, it's the same thing that they do too with like school shootings. It's like something happened in a parking lot, or a gang shooting happened next door and like a bullet went into a school or like over a school or something like that. And like that was a school shooting. It's like, I feel like that's not a school shooting though. I feel like that doesn't, fully describe the intent of the action going on there. All right, so the danger posed by a firearm modified in this manner is difficult to overstate. The police department said in written testimony, once the trigger is pulled on a converted weapon, it will continue to fire at a rate of sometimes 1,200 rounds per minute, and until there is no more ammunition. Now, I'm curious, and it's be very difficult to test this, because essentially what we'd have to do is just get a bunch of gangs together and tell them, like, one side gets switches, one side, in this big Coliseum environment with bulletproof glass. Okay. So gang A gets Glocks with stendos and switches, and the other side gets Glocks with stendos without switches. Okay. And we need to scientifically determine whether or not switches actually make them more or less effective. Because I feel like the side that has switches, while initially the destruction is going to be very high and the other team is going to suffer psychological losses, the team with switches is going to run out of ammo first and then essentially just be hunted down and killed by the team that still has ammo remaining. So I think if we run this experiment enough times with enough gang members, I think scientifically we can prove that switches actually make Glocks less dangerous.
Yeah, especially if they're going to do something like put tracers or other rounds in there.
Oh, it's going to be how we pay for this is the sporting environment. So it's going to be, like a Coliseum like building. They're going to be inside of a glass dome with bulletproof glass. They'll be equipped with tracers, body cams that we can get live footage of. Like the winning team does get
but spicier.
Yeah, the winning team gets like deported to Nicaragua or some made up country somewhere. We'll give them a one-way ticket as like their prize for winning. But yeah, I think that we'll pay for it with like a live audience with,
Wait, what country?
it'll be sponsored by like Prime Energy or something like that. I've got plans here. Okay, this is going to be bigger than the UFC. I'm like Dana White, but for gang warfare.
Dana Black.
Dana Black. Yo, fool, man, use this shit, 21 Glock switch, man. They gonna go crazy, fold them up like a cheese sandwich. Yeah, free trip to Wakanda. Switches versus D-class USPSA shooters. Again, like, you have to understand that the amount of volume that these people shoot, like if you ever watch these people interact with one another with guns, it's miraculous that more people don't die, but they don't die through the sheer incompetence of the shooter. So even a D-class shooter, if you can just like meander your sight over onto a target and pull the trigger, you're literally going to be more effective than 96% of gang members. Ultimate Felon Championship. Yes. Correct.
I believe it was Carver in the main chat said, call it the NFL.
Well, see, is it the
In Firearms League?
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Or the iDubbbz thing that made him famous back in the day.
Yeah.
SDI, yeah, sponsored by SDI. True, dude. Yeah, if you survive, you actually get to go work on Palmetto State Armory firearms. That would be quite funny. All right, well, let's get to some of your guys' support real fast, and then we'll get into based guys getting arrested by their own country, and unfortunately, rage bait. All right, Amorite Boy for 2 says, late but not as gay as the DOJ or the Supreme Court. Very true. Have they actually ruled on birthright citizenship yet?
I don't think so.
They did, okay, and I imagine they came out against it, or against Trump's restriction of it. Thank you, Amorite Boy. Appreciate that. Logan, Sucks at Shooting for 5, says, it was nice knowing you, John. This is my channel now. That was true. Well, it's nice of you to let me keep the channel then with our agreement, okay? The Uma plushie, the gold ship Uma plushie with the special attachments is on its way to you, Logan, okay, as part of our deal, which I appreciate, Logan. Thank you. Lena Mitchellix, North Starfish for 5, says, do you think Kirkification was weaponized to prevent Charlie from becoming a martyr for the right wing, or was he never going to be a good candidate? Well, I think that Charlie Kirk is a martyr for the right, but I think the Kirkification, the memification, I think part of that could be a bit of a psyop, right? A bit of a way to lessen the blow and to make it feel less real. But in another sense, it could be just the way, like, I mean, think about what they were doing to the Ayatollah, like after he was dead, like all of the memes coming out after that. I think that's kind of just the normalization of like everything feels unreal, you know? Like we're so terminally online, and if we don't actually know the people in person or whatnot, these are like almost random video game characters or like reality TV characters, and it doesn't feel quite real. And so, you know, in another time, this would be so sacrilegious and offensive, but now it's almost comical, right? So it's strange, but I think in a lot of ways he is still a martyr for the right, and we're never going to forget. And it's a good realization too about what your enemies actually think of you, as we'll get into. But thank you, Lena. I appreciate it. Cody Fisher for $20, which I appreciate very much. However, I need to upload something because I forgot to upload this the other day. It is, oh shoot, damn it. Where did it go? Did I not actually upload it? Oh, well, fine. You get this one then. You get this one.
You little bad boy. You got a lot of explaining to do.
That's right. Thank you, Cody. I appreciate that. Christ is King. Hope you're doing well out there, man. Thank you for the support. Sheep Herder for 5 says, one stream John dresses like a Persian rug salesman. The next he dresses like he's pinching me and 109 other investors, an AI company startup. Yeah. It's how it is. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, bro. Listen, I don't know what I'm wearing one day to the next, and neither will you, okay? That's Sun Tzu's Art of War, okay? Never let your allies know your next move. I think that's how that went. Guns, Gas, and God for $20. Thank you very much. It says, just learned that we are having baby number 3, mega-based. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Thank you, God, for this blessing, and may he bless you all as well. Christ is King. John, hit me with something foul. Dude, so many options, but you know what? You know what? Here you go. We're going to talk about monkeys, so you might as well get the monkey.
Sorry, I don't speak monkey. Banana.
But no, that is great to hear. Congratulations on hitting number 3. Don't worry, you're still behind me, and you'll never catch up. Guns, Gas, and God, but we do like to hear it, okay? You're doing the real work out there. Making more. Sheep Herder for 5 says, breaking per the ceasefire agreement, the title Strait of Hormuz has officially been changed to the Gay of Hormuz, the Gay Hormuzi, in honor of Talmudic tradition. That's true. They needed to check which one of the 8 Talmudic genders is the gay of Hormuz. I almost dead named the gay. My apologies. Thank you, Sheepherder. Central Stands Defense for 2 says toxic, aka cannot handle a high tier elite unit. Yeah, it's like like I've been in many environment with other dudes where the environment would be toxic to somebody on the outside, where you're lots of inside jokes, a little bit of roughhousing, some, not nice words are being bartered back and forth between individuals. And I could see how an outsider would believe that would be toxic. However, probably shouldn't be there in the first place, especially if you're Floyd. If you can't handle the heat, get back in the kitchen. Sticks Life for 5 says nothing, drops 5 and walks away. Thank you, Sticks Life. I appreciate that. Thank you. Autism for 2 says, just got done coaching a T-ball game. What did I miss? Well, no, that sounds like fun. T-ball, my youngest son is 5, so I got to start thinking about getting him into sports ball and a few other things, just, for the camaraderie, for the, the physical education, stuff like that. But T-ball sounds like fun. I'm glad you had a good time. Sticks Life for 5 says, sent you a rage bait in an email. Subject is an illegal Haitian. Thanks for what you do. I probably already have it. If it's the one that I'm thinking of, yes, I do have that already pulled up. That's how fast I am, Sticks Life, okay? I had that pulled up before the stream started, ready to go, because I'm like a magnet for rage bait, okay? But thank you, Sticks. I appreciate it. Chud for 2 says, Slavs finally made a weapon more modern than the M16A1. Just barely. I didn't say better, but just barely more modern than the M16A1. Lightspore for 2 says, we're literally making a bolter Emperor bless. True. Thank you. Thank you, Lightspore. Appreciate that. Lightspore for another 2 says, Battlefield 4 XM25. Operation Locker was something else. Dude, Operation Locker psychos out there with an XM25. Absolutely ruining children's days, as you should, That's like the worst noob combo you could get in Battlefield 4. It was XM25. Not as broken as Modern Warfare 2, but, Jail Gonis for 2 says, love y'all. I'll catch this rest tomorrow. Well, you have a wonderful night. Good, sir. Hope you're doing well out there. Thank you. Tuss the Third for 5 says, PSA is the definition of a greasy weasel. My uncle likes him, though. Dun, dun, dun. Well, your uncle, from the things I've heard, Tusk, your uncle, very good at penetrating combat sports.
I thought he liked the
very
greasy
close
gerbils.
contact. He puts the Jew in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Zanico for $20 says, John, either get a haircut or play the OG Big Toe Money. Christ is King. Christ is King, and you get Big Toe Money. How about that?
This is a song of the summer shit. It's funny. Walk on stage with no shoes on. All I need is feet, boy, I'm too gone. Hey, Jake Money, Big Toe Money. This is a song of the summer shit. It's funny. Walk on stage with no shoes on. All I need is feet, boy, I'm too gone. My feet feel good. Your feet where they should. Y'all just sitting in the grass with a cigarette. Jake Money, Big Toe Money. That's a bigger check. Walking in, everybody.
Bounce into it. Thank you, Zanico. Appreciate that. Hope you're having a good night. Good luck on hitting GM ever. Just kidding. Chud for 2 says, I don't think we have a grok problem. Fee bands, man. Foes gray, man. Yeah, I don't think it's the Glocks. Milspec Max for 2 says, looks like I'm latent gay now. Hi, John. Hi, Max. Hope you're doing well. Out there, bro. Over on Ko-Fi, Rambunctious Inquisitor for 3 says, for the Ames Core X2, what brand of mount is a good substitute? Plus, the Pro X2 mount good enough, or is it a must upgrade? No, you can just stick with the stock mount. The stock mount on the X2s are good enough to go. Just leave them as they are. Wife Who's Enslaved, Jimmy's Unrustled for 5 on Ko-Fi says, all women and journalists will be turned into biomass in order to feed the denizens of the reloading dungeon. Based? Biomass in my reloading dungeon? Lightspore, Rape Sunny to Death for 3 says, women surprised when Americans' literal space marines live to only eat, screw, and kill. Like that's what it's like in a line unit. Now imagine how bad it is at the top tier. Yeah, again, it's like this is a step above like your average retard, corn-fed Kansas boy who has like a 67 IQ, but he's born to kill, okay? Chud McGill over on Ko-Fi says, I'm convinced Nigers would be serial killers, but they're too incompetent and get caught almost immediately. Richard Gassy of John's choosing. I don't know. How many Gassies do you have, Richard?
A couple.
I don't know. 3. Play through a couple. You have any new ones? That's fine. Use that one. That's new. That's fine. Who sent you that one?
Who do you think?
Who?
I said, who do you think?
I don't know. Was it Chud?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. David, last name 1315 for 5, says, looking at the Velos LPB 762-65AR10, is there something that does what the Velos does, but better? Well, I have no experience with the Velos. So, now, however, if it is a well-regarded low back pressure can, and you're putting it on a 6.5 Creedmoor AR10, which I enjoy 6.5 Creedmoors, I enjoy AR10s. Low back pressure is the way to go on that. Now, whether it's the Velos or the OTB or whatever, Cat makes or some of the other ones that are out there, I would source a reputable reviewer on that. Somebody that you trust. Maybe ask one of the suppressor nerds in the Discord. Thank you, David, last name 1315. Appreciate that, sir. All right. Well, let me check Rumble real fast to make sure we are all caught up, and we are. Excellent. So, now, oh gosh, get that individual off my screen, please. But we have got to talk about this guy. As soon as I say that, gosh dang, I'm going to get to it real fast because you guys are being crazy. Rambunctious Inquisitor from another 3 says, can I be unbanned from chat? I won't be a Fed anymore. Just don't Ko-Fi again, but send me a message. What's your YouTube channel name? And I should be able to get you unbanned if you are banned. But yeah, I can get that done. All right, so Ben Robert Smith, 6'7", 250 pounds. Taliban described him as the big soldier with blue eyes. This is like the Aryan super soldier, okay? This is like this is the guy that you don't want to meet as a Taliban. He also happens to be the most decorated Australian soldier currently. And it happens to be that so he has the Crusaders Cross badge and SASR Victoria Cross recipient. And he's also been arrested on war crime charges from the Australian government, which seems quite strange considering the Australian government seems completely incompetent on prosecuting people that commit heinous crimes within their own country that happen to not even be from that country, but they have the time to go after and prosecute one of their own and one of their best.
He's accused of involving a fire.
Oop, hello? I just want to back up.
Australia's most decorated living soldier has been arrested over alleged war crimes in Afghanistan. Here's what we know. The man who police identified as a 47-year-old former Australian Defence Force member and the media named as Ben Robert Smith was arrested on Tuesday morning.
See, at least in this, because the other Australian guy who got arrested for free speech for saying something untoward towards minorities, how dare you? It was even more embarrassing because the people that went to arrest him were like tiny, like Sikh, Muslim, Hindu dudes. It's like, how embarrassing, you're a Chad Australian, you got that fighting rambunctious spirit in you, and you're trying to protect your people, and you're getting prosecuted and put down and arrested by like the lowest of the low that you have to pretend are valid Australians, right? Like, how embarrassing.
At Sydney Airport. He's accused of involvement in the deaths of 5 people during his deployments between 2009 and 2012.
What's funny is he's probably involved in a lot of other people's deaths as well during that time frame, but 5 of them were illegal deaths, right? Now, I don't disagree with the concept of an act during wartime that is so over and above what would be considered the normal exercise of your duty that it would constitute like a war crime or whatever. But it seems to me that it does not make sense to prosecute your own people for it unless there's some sort of political angle or punitive measure that you're trying to take, especially 13 years after the fact. Now, the reason why you would punish it right after, like if it was specifically a really egregious act that happened, and I'm not saying that this guy even did anything wrong, but is to dissuade your other soldiers who are currently there from doing the same thing. So like if you are in a city and one of your soldiers rapes and murders somebody, it's like, okay, well, that guy's got to get the ban hammer right now, so that everybody knows we don't do that here. That's not our job here, right? 13 years later, saying like, oh, well, you know, he's involved in the untoward deaths of 5 combatants. It's like, I'm struggling to care here.
Australian Federal Police say he'll be charged with 5 counts of war crime murder. Police allege the victims were not taking part in hostilities and were detained and unarmed when they were killed. The maximum penalty for each charge is life in prison. Robert Smith was once hailed a national hero and was awarded Australia's top military honour, the Victoria Cross, for his actions during his tours in Afghanistan from 2006 to 2012. He's consistently denied allegations of wrongdoing about his service, some of which were first reported in the Australian media in 2018. He unsuccessfully challenged those reports in what became Australia's most expensive defamation trial. In 2023, a judge ultimately found the newspapers had proven, on the civil standard, 4 of the 6 murder accusations they levelled. Police say Robert Smith is expected to appear in court on Wednesday. Australia.
So he's being charged with the murder of 5 alleged non-combatants while they were allegedly unarmed in a war zone between 2009 and 2012, which he was serving there between 2006 and 2012, and each possible sentence of a war crime. And to me, it's strange too, because it's coming out 13 years, 14 years after the last alleged act, which makes it very difficult to prove. Like 14 years on, you're going to have to get testimonials from a bunch of your other people that are with you, your comrades at the time, and try and scrounge together all the records. So, but they are trying him with 5 war crimes. Again, each one carries a life sentence. So it's very possible that this guy who served his country, and even if he, let's take the worst case example, he did something wrong overseas, he is going to get a quintuple life sentence while they're letting rapists and murderers walk free because they're literally too retarded to stand trial, or because of, it'll have a negative impact on diversity or on social cohesion or something like that if we actually punish people for their crimes. So this guy gets arrested and punished while everybody else goes free. And that's kind of the point of the system, right? And we have the inverse of that here, because I saw this news today and I was like, well, if there's a stream to get me banned off of YouTube, it's going to be this one, because the murderer of Irina Zarutska has been deemed too stupid, too retarded, despite his 14 previous arrests, him not being too retarded. But in the murder of one of ours, highly publicized, by the way, he is unfit to stand trial, and he needs to be evaluated in a mental hospital for the rest of his life, maybe, hopefully, or he'll be out, even worse, on the taxpayer's dime. So, crazed homeless man. I hate crazed homeless man. And you know who crazed homeless man hates? Me and you and Irina. Because right after murdering her, right after stabbing her out, right after gloating over her body, I got that white bitch, I got that white bitch. I think that as much as I hate crazed homeless man, he might hate white bitches just as much. Accused of slaughtering, and again, they say accused of slaughtering as if we haven't all seen high-def footage posted everywhere of him murdering Irina Zarutska on train, found incompetent to stand trial. The deranged homeless man accused of savagely butchering Irina Zarutska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte light rail train, has been found incapable to proceed on state murder charges, according to a motion filed April 7th. DeCarlos Brown Jr. was evaluated December 29th at Central Regional Hospital, and the subsequent report determined that he was not competent to stand trial. According to WBTV, his attorney has asked the court to delay his competency hearing by 180 days or 6 months. So they're just going to keep pushing this can down the road and hope that everybody forgets and it gets memory hold and no one cares because it's the midterms or something else is coming up that everybody's riled up about, so that you forget that these politicians allowed the murder of Irina Zarutska, They hoped it was you. They hope it's your brother, your sister, your mother, your daughter, whatever it might be. So they don't care about you. The system, the anti-justice system, explicitly condemns you and I for our actions. It will absolutely drop the ban hammer on us immediately, even for saying things, right? So in a hypothetical scenario where I said, like, murder somebody, right? If I were to say that sentence, that is much more offensive to a lot of people than saying, you know, this person was murdered, right? They could watch that footage of Arena being murdered and said, well, actually, John, that statement that you just said, that was way more offensive. I can't believe you would be so insensitive as to say something like that in that hypothetical scenario.
Even if factual.
The results were previously sealed in state court and were only revealed as the motion was filed. Prosecutors did not object to the requested 180 day delay of Brown's Rule 24 hearing, which was previously scheduled for April 30th, which will determine whether he is fit to proceed with a potential death penalty trial. Brown is also facing federal charges and will remain in custody on that case, as lawyer Daniel Roberts said. A judge must now determine whether to accept the report's findings, and the case against him will likely be delayed until his capacity is determined to be restored by the court, the station reported. In the motion filed by Brown's public defender, it is funny because a lot of public defenders are simply Brown public defenders. He claimed the court-required capacity hearing cannot take place with the accused killer in federal custody, and that the court also can't order to have his capacity restored. If a judge agrees Brown is incompetent to stand trial, state law mandates the charges be dismissed. Dismissed, huh? Would you like to know the recipe of how you get, like, vigilante justice? Because this is how you get that. And again, if the system is like, this guy, too retarded to stand trial, not competent to stand trial, competent enough to be among us, though, and to murder us at will, too incompetent to stand trial, though, and the charge is dismissed, again, murdering Irina Zarutska, while we try and pull murals of her down so that people forget, while you try to demoralize our people, while, I mean, like, if in the inverse of this, like the George Floyd situation, people will literally be thrown in prison who did not lay a finger on George Floyd, who just happened to be around him at any point in time. And like Derek Chauvin and the rest of his cadre are purely political prisoners, right? They are in jail because blacks are upset. That's it. They're in prison because blacks are upset. Even though George Floyd died of an overdose, sorry to tell you that, but because blacks would threaten to burn down and murder and rape and steal, spoiler alert, they're still doing that. Derek Chauvin and his cadre are currently sitting in prison for no reason at all. Again, they are completely innocent. They are purely political prisoners. And if I had my way, or if Trump was actually based, he would simply pardon them. A similar situation happened in Tar Heel State in 2020 when murder charges were dismissed without prejudice against Buford James Penley after he was determined to be incompetent by multiple psychologists, including one who worked for the DA's office. Under North Carolina law, a defendant is deemed capable to proceed to trial if they can understand the nature and object of the proceedings. And again, keep in mind that half of the African population in America is legally retarded.
Well, if he can't understand the nature and the object of the proceedings, that's basically him saying, no, what I did was not wrong because...
Yes, he's too stupid to comprehend his own actions. And again, if that's what you're going to say, that you are too stupid to comprehend your own actions, you should be too stupid to be in public in any way, shape, or form, right? And again, if this guy, animal, right, calling him a human is a disservice to humans. If this animal gets let off, there's almost, right, a duty of the people to carry out justice, because justice should be served, right? Justice should absolutely be served. And if the state is no longer going to do it, if the state is going to neglect its rightful authority to execute justice, then it necessarily falls on the people. Brown has been in federal custody in Chicago since a grand jury indicted him on October 22nd for violence against a railroad carrier and mass transportation system causing death, murder. He faces state charges of first-degree murder. He's been ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation pursuant to his federal case, but court filings viewed by the outlet last month show it hasn't been completed and that the evaluation period has been extended. The outlet reports that restoring competency can take a long time in North Carolina because of limited space in state psychiatric facilities. And again, I wonder how many state psychiatric facilities are filled up with Browns. With people like this. Sorry, bro, you're too stupid to stand trial for murdering, raping, stealing, whatever it might be, but we've got a nice, cushy hospital for you to live in at the taxpayer's expense. The parents of the murdered girl, the raped girl, it's like, they're not really all that important to us, really, because again, you, Mr. Brown, are a weapon against the people that we dislike. You are a tool of societal collapse and a way for us to coalesce power within our structures.
He'll be released into a halfway house that's going to be ran, operated, and overseen by one of the judges who released him previously, most likely.
And said it's not uncommon for defendants to wait a year more for a bed to open up. Brown, 35, whose mother told the Post is schizophrenic. Once again, since when do we allow justice to be dissuaded by these type of things? You know, it's like we're not dealing with like a true Down syndrome individual, you know, who maybe like accidentally did something that resulted in harm in somebody else. Like this animal intentionally stabbed Irina Zarutska in the neck for all of us to see. And also all of the black passengers around her ignored her, moved away from her, shuffled away as she was alone, bleeding out in her last moments on this earth as they just walked. Not a single care for another human was shown among any of those people. I use the term people loosely here on that train. It's like, oh, you're mentally unwell, therefore get off of crime? It's like, in what world is that the correct answer here? And again, he was not unfit to stand trial the previous 14 times, but as soon as, you know, he murders a white chick and it's national news, well then, you know, we got to step in here and even the scales of justice. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but this nigger retarded, he cannot go to jail. Sorry, I mean, look at him. You can tell he's retarded. Look at him. In North Carolina, from crimes ranging from assault and firearms possession to felony robbery dating back to 2007, almost once per year. One felony per year. I mean, come on, Your Honor, one felony per year. At the time of the senseless attack in late August, he was free on cashless bail after a magistrate released him on a written promise to show up for court for placing a bogus 911 call. Again, the solution here is very difficult because not only do we need to have stricter sentencing for the perpetrators, but we have to literally remove the majority of judges in this country. Like we literally have to remove them from office using the maximum amount of force allowable in our legal system. We have to clear out so much of our institutions to eradicate the problem at its source. And then after that's done, all of these people get thrown into a prison or dealt with, and the problems just magically go away. You know, and on top of this, if somebody just wants to unilaterally give me complete control, okay, I'll fix some problems. You know, I got a 5-step plan to fix all of this, okay? And Mr. Brown here is not part of that plan. Doesn't really fit in too well. I think that he'll find a better place somewhere, I'm sure. The horrifying caught on camera slaying became a national news and prompted President Trump to call for Brown to face the death penalty. Yes, I also argue for Browns to face the death penalty on federal murder charges. 2 months after the attack, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein signed Arena's Law, which prevents cashless pay for some violent crimes and repeat offenders and improves checks on criminals released on bail. No felony crime should have cashless bail. There 14 previous arrests. Like, at some point, you are no value to society, right? You would actually be more useful as biomass in a reloading dungeon somewhere, okay? Like, literal biomass for the Horde in a reloading dungeon somewhere. You are more useful as biomass than as a living human. You serve no purpose to this people. You serve no purpose to this nation. You are only a detriment. Not only are you a detriment, but you're also evil. You're a horrible person, loosely, and you need to be removed. You're a tumor. You're a cancer, and you all need to be removed. And again, but this is the point. This is the point, right? Is the dual system, the two-tiered justice system that we're currently under. If I say the wrong thing, literally there's anti-Semitism laws in South Dakota where I live, right? I can get arrested for words, and I can go to prison and jail and be fined for like all these different actions that, the feds could come up with if they wanted to. You can murder a woman, a white woman, on CCTV and be adjudicated too stupid to stand trial. He's unwell, Your Honor. Sorry, can't go to prison, bud. And it's this level of injustice that should steal your resolve, right? I don't think we're voting our way out of this. I don't think that's going to solve the problem. I don't think, heckin' based red guy is going to totally fix the issue here. I doubt it. Don't think it's going to happen. I don't think voting is the way forward, right? We're waiting for someone or something that is truly for our people, truly for our nation, that can actually wield power to get things done. And if I had to guess, the accelerationism is like, do we end up in, some sort of positive right-wing direction, or do we end up as Brazil? It's like, do we just continue down societal collapse until, it's favela-like conditions in all of our major cities, or do we actually get somewhere positive? It's like, what's going to happen? Okay. We've got options. We've got time. We've got things to do in the meantime. We've got work to do. So, and most of you, your job right now is to just be stacking up that cash, stacking up that societal, what's the word that I'm looking for? Societal capital, right? So being part of your communities, being fathers, being husbands, building businesses, building networks, building communities, trying to affect change in your own personal life and in your smaller communities. And then together, right? We need full spectrum dominance, right? So not only do we need people who are like the normal working class, we need people who are just like, the backbone is going to be fathers and working class, of course, but we need the donor class, we need the entrepreneur class, we need the political class, we need full spectrum dominance in a way that the left has done for the last 100 years or so. We need to reverse that, and it's going to take time, and it's going to start with us, with our generation, with Gen Z, as a slow march through all the institutions, as we slowly acquire political power, as the Gen X and boomers die out, and that's the only way that power will be wrested from them. And it's going to be a battle for the soul of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. That's how it's going to be. Yeah,
it's sad, but that's the only way forward.
Yeah, I mean, I try to stay away from words like sad or unfortunate or bad because, it's you may have wanted to be born in, the 1950s Americana, so you could enjoy that idyllic boomer life, which, in some ways I do miss, of course. However, you would have then been part of the problem that led us to where you are now. So you either get to be part of the problem and kind of like retreat from society and try and push it off onto your children, onto your grandchildren, or onto your friends' grandchildren and children, so on and so forth. Or you can be a part of the solution, right? So in a lot of ways, like, I understand terrible things are going to happen along the way. They're going to continue to happen. And as much as awful things continue to happen, the madness continues, but so do we, right? And we are put here to affect change and to participate in the building of the future, because the future belongs to those who show up for it. Now, I love this image here because it kind of sums up the whole Western suicidal empathy. Like, the liberal mind believes that the people behind the Artemis mission or any, scientific advancement, whether you're a lunar cuck or you don't believe in the flat earth or the phallic earth, okay? Whatever you personally believe about the solar system or the firmament, that's not my deal. But I'm just saying, like, the level of difference between the societies that can create something like this versus people living like this. And the liberal mind believes that these two things are identical, that there is a blank slate, that if you merely took these people from this village and put them into, MIT, they would come out the other side engineers, okay? They would just acquire through societal osmosis the abilities to become integrated in a society like ours. And the simple truth is that's not possible. And we are definitionally unequal, right? And people, that's scary language for a lot of people. What do you mean unequal? And I mean, like, literally not the same. That's all I mean. We're literally not the same. And you can say, well, these types of people have strengths and weaknesses, and these types of people have strengths and weaknesses. And we all know instinctively that's true. Like, if you look at long distance marathon runners, a lot of them happen to be from places in Africa that I can't particularly name, or like Jamaica or something like that, right? They're really good at that. It's like they're pretty good at stuff like that. But when it comes to anything that I actually care about, there are other people that are better in that. And again, if you can admit that certain people groups have strengths, that implies that certain groups are better at certain things. And again, the things that are more important to me happen to be done best by people like me. And some East Asians as well. Like, let's be fair. Let's be fair. But moving on, I mean, look at even just like 20 years ago, right? This does play like a different world, and I was like 4 years old when this was going on. But look at like a 1999 graduation and how much it does look like a propaganda film almost.
And see, that's the thing is, you say it when I said sad. Well, you weren't able to be born into the 1950s. I was born. I'm old enough to remember the 90s very well. I remember all of this.
And just this doesn't really exist in the same way ago from 20 years ago. And it's going to be quite bad. Quite bad. Like, again, we see the world currently from one moment in time, but if you look back, you can contextualize where it has been and kind of predict where it's going, right? So if you look at like a slide or a curve, right? We're on like the inverted curve. So as bad as we think it is right now, as we're like slowly going over, give it like 10 to 20 more years and it's going to be like logarithmically worse. Like Texas, like white Texans are a minority. So in Texas, we have to appeal to Hispanics for your rights if you live in Texas. And give it another couple of years and Texas will necessarily go blue, or it will have to sell like votes or buy votes from Hispanics. Like, that's just the way that it goes. Yeah, 1999, only 10 years ago, almost 30 years ago. Tragic. But yeah, the world you grew up in no longer exists, and it's literally been murdered. It's literally been stolen from you. Your people have been replaced, and it's only now that we're really noticing it, right? And the The change will not be reversed overnight. Trump's not going to do it. The next based red politician, heckin' Republicano, is not going to fix it. Okay, that's not how it's going to go. It's going to take something much, much more drastic to return to any sense of normalcy, right? I mean, we're talking about 150 million deportations as the moderate option. 1/3 of the country will need to be physically removed. You think a red politician is going to be able to do that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And of course, there's edge cases, and I'm not like a true idealist, as some of you guys out there in the chat are. I just, I think we should return to like 1980s demographics, 85% plus, something like that, in the edge cases, the here and there. It doesn't really bug me that much, whatever. However people choose to live.
When
now,
you say the 80s, would you say maybe 88?
No, I wouldn't insinuate that. However, speaking of the way that some people choose to live, a gentleman is going door to door, allegedly, asking to do, landscaping work. I work for a landscaping company, and I go door to door asking if they need landscaping done. Does that sound convincing to you, Richard? Are you buying this?
Not on a bike.
How do you know he doesn't own a landscaping company?
I'm pretty sure that he doesn't own that bike.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. Not only do you not own a landscaping company, but also that bike is stolen, good sir. And this young man has an interaction with police who are called upon him after he goes door to door, attempting to seek entry, and we'll see what his excuse is.
What's that? I got some money to make. What's up with you? Okay. What are you doing in the neighborhood today? You live around here? I'm trying to find some yards to cut. What's up with you? Yards to cut? Yeah. We got a phone call from one of the neighbors in the neighborhood saying that you were riding up into people's yards and trespassing.
Oh, no. I'm not going to go. They say no, I'm going. And ain't nothing wrong with asking somebody to cut your grass.
Fun fact, too, by the way, if this young gentleman knocks on your door, call the cops or answer with a gun. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of these cases where in the UK or something like that, they will go around, and then this old lady will come and they'll open up the door. Or this happens in the US as well, and then they just force entry. Like, nope, absolutely not. No, thank you.
No, there's not. You got any weapons on you?
No.
Do me a favor, step off your bike and...
Bro, why you trying to take me for it?
Because?
I'm trying to get some money right now.
Okay, I understand that, but I still got some... Wait, don't go nowhere.
Get on the ground now! Let's go!
Get on your stomach.
Get on your stomach!
Get on your stomach, dude.
Wow. Give me some. I can't breathe, shit.
Do they all have the default script? Like, is that just the default download is like, if you ever get into an interaction with a police officer that you can't talk your way out of? Although I'm always confused. Like, do they believe that they can talk their way out of it? Is it just that hubristic confidence that they believe they can talk their way out of it? Like, oh, why are you trying to check me, man? Why are you trying to check me, man? These police officers won't even let me trespass no more. I can't even trespass on people's houses and knock on their doors no more. I can't brief, man.
Get on your stomach.
Get on your stomach.
Get on your stomach, dude.
Wow. Give me some. I can't breathe.
Like, I'm just curious, like, if I tried this line on a police officer, have you thought about calming down? It's not that serious. Chill, bruh. Hit him with the light skin stare, maybe? You think that would do it?
I think that'll cover it.
I can't breathe. Can't breathe. Get off me, bro. Can't breathe. Get off me.
Literally nobody's on him. Literally no one is on him. Like, here's a little anatomy lesson. Like, here's the back area where I think the lungs are in here somewhere. And there doesn't appear to be any pressure on him other than his own weight.
Pick me up, but I don't know what I did.
Oh, whoa, dude!
Wow.
That screenshot right there. That screenshot right there. And again, it's just every time it's just this image over and over again. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you need access to my country and my welfare and my resources and my tax dollars. I don't feel like I need you at all. They just like us, yes. They just like us. Huh?
I'm telling you, bro. You don't know what you did, bro.
Oh, threatening the police. You don't know what you did. You don't know what I'm gonna do to you. You don't know what I'm gonna do to you. Sir, you are in a police cruiser locked up with your hands cuffed. I don't think you are gonna do anything.
Pick me up. But I don't know what I did. I'm telling you, bro. You don't know what you did, bro. What's that?
All 4 brain cells running on overtime. Now, it's another one of those things where I'm like, it's just one of those days, okay, where you just want to break stuff. And unfortunately, this woman just, you can't allow your women, your mothers, your wives, your daughters to have any sort of interactions with these people. There's no benefit. There's only death. There's only sadness. There's only despair. A foreign savage invader from Haiti, an illegal immigrant from Haiti, it's just this. It's like, no, thank you. Nope, not all right. Rolbert Joachim beat a store clerk in Fort Myers, Florida to death with a hammer. He was given humanitarian parole, and let into America by President Biden. Avoid a sub-80 IQ foreign savages accordingly. Now, he's being very kind there currently. If I had to guess, the average IQ of Haiti, it's probably in the low 70s. You know, it's not quite Somalia inbred, but it's still on the lower end of the spectrum. So it's, again, keep in mind that the average Haitian is functionally retarded, like medically retarded, with like high time preference and testosterone. Not a great mix.
What'd you say you thought the average IQ was in Haiti?
Low 70s?
Try low 60s.
Let me see. I'm seeing like 69, 71 in advice. Average IQ in Haiti.
60 to 90 was what I seen the range, but the average was 60, like 63.
67. 67? What?
What?
That's the first number that popped up was 67. There's a fact check on it. Some say it's 76. Some say it's low 70s.
They're so dumb.
So what's funny is just think about this. Just think about this. Only 2% of Haitians approach 97 IQ, which is still below the national average in America, which is brought down by certain people. So the top 2% brain trust of Haiti are below average intelligence in America. The best and the brightest that Haiti has to offer are as intelligent as like not, and this isn't even to denigrate like anyone, like your average, I don't know, like store clerk. You know, it's like that level of intelligence, that is their best and brightest.
The Haitian.
And again, I was a store clerk for a number of years. Like I don't denigrate people who actually do blue collar labor, but I'm talking like that type of job, the IQ required for that type of job, like only the top 2% of Haiti has access to.
The Haitian bell curve is a broom handle laying on the floor.
Well, true. I don't. That's assuming that their standard distribution would be the same as like Europeans, which who knows. But yeah, so the woman goes outside, big mistake, and to interact with this again, I'm not going to call them animals. Like, he's beating the car with a hammer. And this is the thing. if you don't have a gun on you, you are like not allowed to you shouldn't be allowed to interact with somebody like this. Like if you see somebody with a deadly weapon in their hands and you go out there to talk to them, what reasoning, like your life and death is purely off of their benevolence, and when their benevolence is animalistic, not a great roll of the dice here. And not only does he probably kill her instantly with it, but he continues to just beat her into the pavement with a hammer. And this video is gruesome. It's horrifying. But what should also be horrifying and terrifying is that these people are let in on purpose by the state, by politicians, into your communities to take your resources, whether through welfare, whether through straight up theft, to murder your people, to destabilize your communities. And there are millions of this type of person living in your country. And again, it just goes back, like, we're not the same. We're not the same, and that's okay. But I just don't want you living here. You know? It's my very kind, moderate position is we're not the same. That's okay. You just need to not be here. You just need to not be near me, near my family, near anyone I'm related to, near my community. You just need to not be here. Now, within this same vein, let's listen to the top brain trust of Africa. The two black queens here explain the dangers of the far right. As Kakuya's top gal says, a black person's worst nightmare is white tax dollars not going into their welfare. Joy Reid's warning about the far right. Their plan, zero income tax, zero regulation. Earn as much as you want and your family inherits it all. Keep in mind that black people and Hispanics and a few other demographics in America only exist at European benevolence. Like it is a state-funded breeding program for blacks. It is a state-funded welfare program, feeding, breeding, healthcare, all of it, education, all of it, every single bit of it, funded by my people, by my tax dollars, right? And as a weapon against us, while we, the man on the far right sounds amazing. Well, listen, they make some good points, okay? When you have like a certain reducing of taxes for how many children you have, or, paying for your down payment of your house, if you, do certain things like a married bonus or something like that, there's all sorts of policies we could implement that could actually help our people. But back to my point, they literally steal from you to fund your enemies. So like as you're working right now, a lot of you people in the chat, you're paying taxes at your blue collar job, your white collar job. They're making it harder for you to afford groceries, gas, a house, while taking from you, making it harder for you to have children, harder for you to get married, harder for you to acquire wealth, to acquire power, taking that from you, literally stealing your future, your children's future, the wife you could have had, the children you could have had you had access to those resources that they stole from you, and then giving it literally to the worst of the worst. And, the far right solution to this, the far right, I don't want to fund your lifestyle and your existence anymore. I don't think that's cool. I don't think that's cool anymore.
Is that if you go back before the 20th century, there were no income taxes, there were no regulations on business. You could earn as much money as you want, leave 100% of it to your children with no taxes. Right. That's the world they want back. And to get it back, they need society to change. They need people to be less modern. They need people to want fewer things. Is that if you go back...
Yes, I do want... No, and it's not just like a libertarian, I want less taxes so I can have more money. I don't want to be funding the evils of the modern world with my tax dollars. And by evils of the modern world, I mean you. I literally mean you. Like, pro-abortion, feminism, black empowerment, disgusting evilness. I'm not interested in participating in that system. Literally get out of here. Just get out of here. And yes, I do desire to return to a traditional world, but I want the rule of tradition in something new. You know, I'm not trying to recreate 1950s America, which just led us back to here. I'm trying to create something new, something different, something else, right? I'm not particularly interested in just going back. Sometimes the jokes write themselves. All right, man. This is maybe too much for me even right now. I'm kind of getting zoned out of rage bait. But this is less rage baity, but still cringe, still like weird, still strange. Disgruntled employee starts massive fire at 1.2 billion square foot warehouse in Ontario, California. 29-year-old Chamel Abdul Karim was arrested on arson charges for setting a Kimberly-Clark warehouse on fire. 29-year-old Star Wars character, foreign import, not American. Abdul Karim was apparently filmed himself on Instagram setting toilet paper packages in the warehouse on fire. You may not pay us enough to effing live, but these bitches dirt cheap. There goes your inventory. Abdul Karim apparently said, all you had to do is pay us enough to live. All you had to do is pay us enough to effing live. The warehouse is the size of 11 city blocks in total. 175 firefighters and 20 engines were on scene trying to put the fire out. No one was injured, which is very good that no one was injured, because this is a massive scale event, like an entire warehouse of inventory. I used to be a warehouse forklift operator for Penske, evil corporation, by the way. But I used to work for them for a little bit less than a year. I am forklift certified, by the way.
All they have in there is toilet paper?
It's something, you know, it's a distribution site of something. But in this section, at least, they have toilet paper. And he does. He walks around filming it, just being like, man, all you had to do was pay us enough to live. Pay us enough to live. This stuff's cheap. And again, this is what we have to deal with, right? Is like, yes, wages are low. Yes, wages are suppressed by big corporations because they're importing people like you. Like, these retards don't understand that they are the problem. It's like, why are things expensive? Because of people like you driving up demand. Why are jobs so cheap? Because of you poisoning the supply. You are the problem, Abdul Karim, whatever the heck. You are the problem. And then you burn it down as some sort of like, F the system, man. And I'm like, no, you're a tool of the system, you retard.
Should have paid us enough to fucking live. You know, we may not get paid enough to fucking live, but these bitches dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. There goes your inventory.
He doesn't sound like the typical ethnic.
Well, he's not a YN. He's like a half Muslim?
Yeah, Abdul Karim that's Arab for sure.
I mean, it's I don't care. I don't care what countries from Star Wars names can go back. I really don't care, you know. I'm gonna skip the plane story. Here's another one. American History X wannabe. A white firefighter saves the life of a black man who is overdosing on drugs. Later, when the firefighter asks if he has any firearms, the black man responds by shooting and killing him.
So I don't know if you guys want to do anything about that. Hey, Houston, buddy. I'm right here. You went unresponsive. And you're agonally breathing, which means like laborious, like pre-death breathing. They gave you a little bit of Narcan, which treats opioid overdose. I'm not saying that you did anything intentionally or illegal. What I'm going to do, bud, I'm going to pat you down, okay? You're not in any trouble, but I need to make sure nothing's going to happen with them, okay? All right?
But I can't, I have to check myself first.
All right, check yourself, right yourself?
Yeah.
All right.
Houston, real quick, do you have any weapons on you?
No, sir.
Okay. Kind of a bulge on your right side.
That's my phone.
Okay, don't reach for anything. Just
That's my phone.
Look,
I don't know. Look, man, I have a problem with officers touching me, man.
Okay.
Lift up your shirt then. Sure.
I get nervous and stuff.
You lift your shirt up a little so
We
I
want
can
to
see
make
your
sure
face.
everybody's safe.
Look, this is my...
Not move. Stay right there.
I remember this one very well. He was gray, completely unresponsive on a bus. And I'm not sure, but I think the man may have also hit a bystander.
Well, I believe that's how the firefighter died, right? Is because he was...
I believe he hit a female bystander as well in the leg, if I recall.
It's like when they say suicidal empathy, like sometimes it just plays out. You know, it really does. Like you go in there, you do the right thing ostensibly. You resuscitate this man, you bring him back from the brink, and he repays you in kind by murdering you. Is it Frog and the Scorpion? Is that the one? There's a story about that. Yeah, I mean, it's literally American History X in real life. Like the people that help you the most at no cost to you personally, risking their own lives, and then you take their life in this, worst trade deal of all time. Well, how about one more before we hit the road? 25-year-old Barrington High School grad father dies by homicide after being found critically injured in Chicago. 25-year-old Barrington High School graduate who is a father of one and expecting a second child was found critically injured and later died in a homicide in Chicago as the police searched for the suspects. The Chicago Police Department said that they responded around 3:20 a.m. on March 24th to the 3900 block of West Belmont Avenue in Chicago for an injured person. Officers arrived and found a male victim in his 20s unresponsive on the ground, the police officer said. The man was suffering from injuries to his head. Paramedics transported him to Illinois Masonic Medical Center in critical condition. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office identified him as Xander Kazanowski, 25 of Chicago. Kazanowski died at the hospital on March 28th. The Medical Examiner's Office ruled his manner of death to be a homicide. The Medical Examiner's Office said Kazanowski's cause of death was blunt head trauma from an assault. Oh, who killed him? Father of one, expecting a second child. We just had someone super chat earlier about expecting their third child, murdered, beat to death by the horrifying circumstance, right? You're a young man in the prime of your life. You have a child. You're so excited. You have another one on the way, and mere proximity to evil, and that's taken away from you. That child, your second child, will never get to touch you, never get to hear your voice other than some sort of recording, never get to see your real face, never get to spend time with you. Stolen. Absolutely stolen. And for what? For what possible benefit? But it's not all bad news. It's not all bad news, because the solution is right in front of you. Okay. The solution is there. There are things that can be done. There are simple solutions. The government doesn't want you to know this, but there are simple solutions to these problems. Florida teen beats registered sex offender to death with a baseball bat. Now that is the type of teen that I enjoy. That is the type of teen that I can get behind. These teens can stay. A teen beats a registered sex offender to death with baseball bat, then dismembers and dumps the body in suitcases. 19-year-old Lucas Sander Jones of Indy Atlantic has been charged with second-degree murder in the killing of 28-year-old Collie Lee Daniel, a registered sex offender from Indy Atlantic. Daniel was reported missing by his family around March 22nd. On March 28th, Palm Bay police found human remains in an abandoned black suitcase and additional containers in a remote area of Palm Bay known as the compound after vultures were spotted circling overhead.
Ooh, interesting.
According to the affidavit, Jones confessed to his girlfriend that he beat Daniel to death with a baseball bat at his home on March 20th, then dismembered the body using tools including a cleaver, saw, and a knife. He placed the remains in suitcases and totes. His girlfriend admitted she helped dump them the next day. So the girlfriend also told investigators that Jones said he targeted Daniel because he was a sex offender and that Jones had printed a list of other local registered sex offenders he planned to go after next. Jones, this is real like Punisher Dexter level stuff. Yeah, Dexter IRL. Yeah, see, not quite as efficient, not quite as good. He's only 19. Give him some slack here. Okay, but
the girlfriend
he had a
helped,
plan. Though? What?
The girlfriend helped though?
That's what she was informed after the fact, and then helped him dispose of the body. Is what I heard.
Hey, wife goals.
I guess, yeah. Keep her. Jones was initially arrested on charges including tampering with evidence and abuse of a dead human body. He bonded out, but was rearrested and is now facing second-degree murder. He is being held without bond in Brevard County Jail. The case is horrific and raises serious questions about how our justice system handles registered sex offenders, many of whom are released back into communities near families and children instead of being locked away permanently. Again.
So the Brevard County Jail, for those who are interested, does allow people to put money on the books for, if you know the name and date of birth. So for anybody out there who's interested, just a little tidbit of information.
Yeah, Mr. Lucas Sander Jones, 19 years old. But that's the thing, right? This is just a necessary consequence. And I don't condone these actions, of course, YouTube. However, this is a necessary conclusion of when you fail to administer justice. So, like, listen, if somebody was walking around with a baseball bat and he saw Mr. Brown, out on release in a couple years after murdering Irina Zarutska, and he happened to remove the trash, right? You may not agree with it, but you would understand, right? It's just the individual having to pick up society's slack, okay? If the justice system, the anti-justice system no longer dispenses justice, well, then necessarily the people have to do it on their own. Now, go ahead.
I do have a little bit of firsthand knowledge of the compound, and I gotta say, props to the kid.
Of course you do.
I'm surprised that well, if you're not aware, this is my stomping grounds. This is right where I moved from. Brevard County, Palm Bay, in the Atlantic. And yeah, I just gotta say, good on the kid. He picked a good spot to ditch the remains, because it is a vast open compound. As it says, it was a neighborhood that was built up initially with streets and nothing else. The developers let it go under and nature just took it back. So people go out there and drag race. There's a lot of drug activity that goes on out there on the weekends. There's a lot of partying and stuff that happens out there. There's dead bodies that show up all the time out there from overdoses and such. So yeah, I bet if he wouldn't have cut the body up and disposed of it in the way that he did, they probably would have never known.
Well, give me just a second and ramble on about something, because I'm going to look up a story real fast to make sure I get this right.
I'll keep rambling on about this. I went out there a couple times riding four-wheelers with some guys, and we come across a tent that had this obvious smell of decomp, and I wasn't about to go up in there and see what it was. So we called law enforcement and told them where it was. And when they come out there, they asked what we were doing. And of course, we're saying, we're just back here testing our four-wheelers. Yeah. We're definitely not drag racing up and down the strips and potentially causing damage to private property. That would not be what we're doing at all. And he just kind of gave us that nod, like, yeah, okay. So, but yeah, it's a nasty area.
So sometimes, I have faith in the future. Okay, there's a couple little white pills at the end here to make the black pills a little bit more tolerable. So this is coming out of Sweden. I think the kids are going to be all right. There's hope for Gen Z yet. Sweden, Eritrean immigrant taxi driver rapes a 15-year-old girl. Ha! That's strange. Her boyfriend organizes with his 3 older brothers. They trick the foreigner into a nature reserve with the promise of sexual favors, overpower him, strangle him, and hang his body from a tree in the forest, trying to stage it as a suicide. Based. Arrested, the oldest of the 4 brothers, 18 at the time, gets a life sentence, and 3 other brothers and the girl herself get between 3 and 4 years in a closed youth detention. The girl and her 15-year-old boyfriend got 3.5 years each for aiding and abetting, but they weren't at the scene. And in appeal, 3 brothers were acquitted of the murder, but the oldest one, who was 18 at the time, got 7 years instead of life, and the others get closed youth care. So this is a real story that happened a couple years ago. A young 15-year-old girl is raped by an Eritrean immigrant animal, and the boyfriend takes his brothers, and they go out there and they execute justice promptly. And again, in a just system, the Eritrean animal would have been dealt with by the system, but instead, these young men had to go out there and be the justice, right? And to redeem the honor of the brother's girlfriend, right? It is a terrible, horrifying situation that the Swedish government allowed to happen. And since they were not going to do anything about it, a necessary conclusion of that is that the young men are going to take justice into their own hands, and in my opinion, be justified in doing so. And fortunately, obviously, it's terrible that they got any time at all for dispensing justice on a rapist. But at least it was not, what's the right word? Like a unrecoverable amount of time, like 7 years at max. You'll be 25 by the time you're out. Like, you still have your whole life ahead of you, and you're going to be a hometown hero. You're going to be the guy. You're going to be the hometown hero. Yeah, it's going to be rough. Yeah, you're going to have repercussions for the rest of your life, but you're going to be the guy. And Swedish prison probably isn't as bad as American prison, so.
Oh, have you seen them?
I've seen, like, is it Norway where they don't have any death penalty at all, and the prisons are like resorts basically?
Yeah, Sweden is basically the same thing. It's essentially an IKEA suite.
You build your own prison cell.
Dude,
like a fully furnished place.
It is.
All right. Well, let me round out with your guys' support, and then we are going to get out of here, gentlemen, because that was too much rage bait for me. Too much rage bait for the middle of the week. Zanico for 2 says, Richard, clip that. Based. That's not getting clipped. It's already clipped. Who cares? Thank you, Zanico. Chud for 2 says, we was retarded and shit. TND for real, though. Crazy opinion there, Chud. Amorai Boy for 2 says, the bread and circuses have gone stale and tiresome. They got to do World War III, right? That's the next play. Like, how are they going to keep societal cohesion without some sort of massive external threat? I thought it was going to be aliens. Honestly, aliens would be better than Iran. Can we do something different? Can we do something fun? But thank you, Amorai Boy.
We got aliens. It just turns out they're brown instead of green.
True. Chud for 5 says, the bee can't explain to the fly that honey is better than shit. The problem is the fly reproduces 10 times more and has the same voting rights as the bee. Yes, exactly. Although in this instance, the reproduction of the bee is suppressed by the powers that be and literally replaced, or they're incentivized to not have children, while the hordes of fly immigrants are. So it's even worse than that.
The bees are dying off.
Well, again, but that's it. The analogy here as it works to the U.S. population or the world population is that we're incentivized to not have children.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Judd. Zanico for 5 says, I used to watch Focus Stream via AOL dial-up in the 90s. Talk about struggles. Dude, wild back then, dude. I would stutter mid-slurred. You'd be like, what's he going to say? What's coming next? Thank you, Zanico. Appreciate that. Cooper Ernst for 10 says, love the content, man. I've been binging your streams at work for the past couple of weeks. Keep up the good work. Christ is king and he wins in the end. Yes, he does. Thank you very much, Cooper Ernst. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support and hope you're having a good time out there, dude. Ben for 5 says, I hit them with the, you're yelling at me. That means you're getting air. You can breathe. It's like, yeah, you're talking. You're cogent. You're getting air. I'm sorry. And then he follows it up. I'm very sorry to hear that, Ben. For $20, thank you very much for the support, Ben. Says, Michelle Lundgaard went to his funeral. I'm very sorry to hear that, man. Way too many cases. Way too many cases for nothing. Chips Dubbo for 5 says, I hope everyone's had a good evening. As always, Christ is king. And it's always important to remember that no matter how dark things get, that we do have the light at the end of the tunnel, and the light has a name. Koopa Troopa over on Ko-Fi becomes a Ko-Fi caffeine creep for $10 a month. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. And then for another 5, he follows up. He says, I've seen enough. Import 5 million more of them. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I want that. I don't think that's a good idea. Over on Rumble, Jarrett for 2 says, we'll have to catch the VOD tomorrow. Christ is and always has been victorious. Black Pills BTFO. True. Megabase. Thank you, Jarrett. And then Bushmaster for 2 says, you sly dog. You got me fed posting. It's really easy. All I have to do is expose you to the actions of certain groups of people, and you will instantly fed bait. It's like magic. But it is what it is. Richard, what do you got going on?
Well, hopefully I'll be doing a stream Friday if you guys want to come over and hang out for a little bit. Probably about 2 hours before we start the stream here. So come hang out. We sit by the fire. We talk about life.
Sounds good. I will drop the link for that on Rumble and in the YouTube chat if you want to go subscribe to Richard's Headspace for his fireside chats and probably some other content coming up soon. But with all of that out of the way, gentlemen, I do want to expose the evil deeds of the world, as I think that is important for us to actually face what is actually out there, right? Rather than just live in our comfortable bubbles where we get to be apathetic and be silly billies and, you know, sit on our hands and don't do anything with our lives. I think that we do need to be striving individually towards excellence and towards a brighter future. And it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of grinding, as the kids say. Okay. My dentist said I was grinding in my sleep. And honestly, he's real for that. Okay. Realest thing I've ever heard. Real recognizes real, but we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of grinding to do in our personal lives, in our social lives, in our spiritual lives. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of struggle, but we got to be there for one another. Okay. Check in on the homies, say what's up. You never know when it's going to be your last night, your last day, your last time to talk to somebody. So check in with your family, check in with your homies. We will see you in the next one. As always, Christ is King. God bless. Godspeed out there.
The glamour waking up. Shut it down. Me mom died in a Harley. Me pa was killed by Stalin. Me mom died in a Harley. Me pa was killed by Stalin. Ay, they got lined up by Stalin. For my daddy in a coffin. I'm a Jew, Finkelstein. My uncle, my grandma was lying. Just pulled up on me, mom, ayy. Put her in the count, ayy. Told her get a word or be turned into a lamb. Ayy, not in a Harley. Me pa was killed by Stalin. Me mom died in a Harley. Me pa was killed by Stalin. Ay, they got 1945, they were getting fucked up. Stalin put up on me, Paul. Put him in the count. Then his op sprayed his ass with the fucking child. My mom died in a Harley. Me Paul was killed by Stalin. Me mom died in a Harley. Me Paul was killed by Stalin.